Attack on Sanatan Dharma continues. After Udhayanidhi issues clarification, another DMK Neta maligns Sanatan. Compares Sanatan with AIDS and leprosy. A furious BJP seeks governor's intervention. Politics over Sanatan far from over. Our top focus on 5 Live.
Thanks always for being with me, Shiv, Aroor. This is 5 Live. Let's get you straight to the big political headlines of the day. The fight over Udhayanidhi Stalin's Sanatan insult has exploded. It's become even more vicious after the Prime Minister called for a Sanatan counter. Stalin has hit out, defended his son. Big protests against Udhayanidhi in Madurai. Stage set for the mega G20 summit, and India Today's 100-hour coverage has begun. Prime Minister Modi hails India's presidency. Top world leaders, including US President Biden, to arrive in Delhi starting tomorrow. Security agencies in top gear. Big showdown over Bengal minority panel. As it has only Urdu-speaking Muslims, BJP lashes out, asks why no Sikhs, Christians, Jains in this committee. Prime Minister Modi concludes his visit to Indonesia for the ASEAN summit, forges stronger ties with partners, presents 12-point proposal to strengthen India-ASEAN cooperation.
हमारी हिस्ट्री और ज्योग्राफी भारत और आसियान को जोड़ते हैं.
ISRO's Aditya L1 probe heading towards the sun shares a stunning selfie with the Earth and Moon from space. ISRO also announces that the mission has attained a new higher orbit around the Earth before it slingshots towards the Lagrange 1 point. If Udhayanidhi Stalin's words calling for the eradication of Sanatana Dharma like malaria and dengue had sparked a political storm, his party colleague and former UPA minister A. Raja, the famous A. Raja, has taken it to the next level, comparing Sanatana Dharma to HIV and leprosy. This a day after the Prime Minister called upon his team to effect a strong response to Sanatana politics. Take a look at the day's story. This remark against the Sanatana Dharma by the Tamil Nadu minister and Chief Minister M.K. Stalin's son Udhayanidhi Stalin has been triggering a massive showdown for the last 5 days. The DMK is not backing down despite the severe backlash from the BJP. The Dravidian party's Dalit face A. Raja, former minister in the UPA government, has scaled up the attack on Sanatana Dharma now.
உதயநிதி ஸ்டாலின் அவர்கள் மென்மையாகத்தான் சொன்னார். மலேரியா போல டெங்கு போல ஒழிக்க வேண்டும் என்று. மலேரியாவுக்கும் டெங்குக்கும் சோசியல் ஸ்டிக்மா இல்ல. அது ஒரு அருவருப்பா சமூகம் பார்க்காது. அருவருவாக பார்க்குற ஒரு சனாதனத்தை சொல்லணும்னா முறைப்படி ஒரு காலத்தில் தொழுநோய் இருந்தது. இப்போ HIV இருந்தது. எங்களை பொறுத்தவரை HIV தொழுநோயை போல HIV போல சமூக அவலம் நிறைந்த ஒரு நோயாகத்தான் நம்ம பார்க்கிறோம். ஒன்று.
The BJP is raising the heat and has questioned the silence of the Gandhis on the comments made by their close allies.
आपकी कांग्रेस पार्टी को क्या हो गया है? हिंदू आस्था, हिंदू विश्वास, सनातन धर्म, सबों का अपमान. तो सुन ले सोनिया जी, हिंदू आस्था, हिंदू चिंतन का अपमान नहीं सहेगा हिंदुस्तान.
कुछ ऐसे लोग हैं जो हमारे सनातन धर्म को चुनौती देते हैं कि नेस्तो नाबूद कर देंगे. जब तक एक एक भक्त इस पुण्य धरती पर जीवित है, तब तक कोई ऐसा नहीं जो धर्म को चुनौती दे, कोई ऐसा नहीं जो आस्था को चुनौती दे।
The BJP's fierce counterattack comes a day after the Prime Minister asked union ministers to fight falsehoods and attacks on issues of faith. A Tamil Nadu BJP delegation met with Governor R.N. Ravi on Thursday and sought his intervention over Udhayanidhi Stalin's hate speech. DMK leaders, however, are defiant.
The Honorable President Draupadi Murmu Madam, she was not invited for the opening of the Parliament. Right. That is the best current example. Thank you.
No question of apology.
Somebody's apologized to me?
They demanded your apology.
No, sorry. I can. This is not an apology to them. This is for a question. Thank you so much.
DMK Supremo and Tamil Nadu Chief Minister MK Stalin has accused the BJP of twisting his son's remark. Nearly a week after the comments first triggered a big political war, what appears absolutely clear is that the fight over Sanatana Dharma is all set to be a big political issue going into 2024. With Pramod Madhav in Chennai, Bureau Report, India Today. India Today's Pramod Madhav live with me from Chennai. Pramod, this is clearly going to be a big, election issue this year and next year. The Prime Minister has also, issued instructions to his cabinet to provide an effective response. A. Raja is busy escalating the issue even further. It's very clear that the first family of the DMK has no plans to step back on this issue. Stalin has defended his son. Udhayanidhi has refused to apologize. He put out a statement today, but it's clear that there is going to be no retraction, far less an apology.
Definitely not, Shiv, because it's almost been 5 days and we've been constantly asking that BJP is seeking an apology, and any DMK leader, including Udhayanidhi Stalin, has very clearly mentioned that they are not going to apologize on this matter. In fact, they have only increased the attack on Sanatan Dharma, just like you mentioned. Yesterday it was actually A. Raja who went ahead and did that comparison also. Today the Chief Minister has put out a statement in the form of a letter, and so has Udhayanidhi Stalin. In the statement, he very clearly mentions that he was talking about Sanatana Dharma alone and not about the followers. And they still state that Sanatan Dharma is a reason for the class diversification, and they claim that Sanatana Dharma is a root for caste system. This is what DMK is giving as a kind of rebuttal and as a kind of like their side of the argument. Even when we spoke to TK Silangovan, he's questioning us back, asking what is Sanatana Dharma. When we put forward the question, he says it has nothing to do with Hindu religion on the whole, but about class diversification. And that's the reason he also said that DMK is going to constantly oppose it.
Very, very interesting. So the battle lines are drawn, pitched positions have been taken on an inflammatory hate speech comment, and it looks like both sides have decided if politics is going to happen on this particular comment by Udhayanidhi Stalin, then so be it. It's going to be a big one going into election season. Thanks very much, Pramod, for putting that into perspective for us. Now, the political slugfest over Udhayanidhi Stalin and now A. Raja's inflammatory remarks have spread like wildfire. Let's listen into some of the reactions that have been coming in since today.
पर लगता है कुछ ऐसे व्यक्ति हैं जो HIV की बीमारी के लिए उन्होंने डेंगू के मेडिसिन ले ली है, और ये जो उनका ब्रेन डैमेज हुआ है ये परमानेंट हुआ है, और जिन्होंने ऐसी बातें की है सनातन धर्म के बारे, भारतीय संस्कृति सभ्यता के बारे, उनको शर्म आनी चाहिए। और ऐसे लोग आज ये इंडी अलायंस है, I full stop, N full stop, D full stop, I full stop, A, the country and all Indians are disgusted by this kind of statement, और मुझे लगता है इनको जनता के सामने जवाब देना पड़ेगा।
The people of India and the people of Tamil Nadu and the whole of Bharat have read into your elitist, cabal, family-oriented, corrupt practices. Come 2024, DMK as a party is going to get wiped out. I didn't say it, your son said it. Because D stands for dengue, M stands for malaria, and K stands for Kosu. Good luck, sir.
The Indian National Congress has always believed in Sarva Dharma Samabhav, wherein every religion, every faith has its space. No one can treat any particular faith as less than another faith. Neither the Constitution allows this, nor does the Indian National Congress believe in any of these comments.
पूछना चाहता हूं श्रीमान राहुल गांधी जी से क्या मजबूरी है आपकी कि एक के बाद दूसरा नेता घमंडिया गठबंधन का सनातन धर्म को नीचा दिखाने का प्रयास करता है, HIV, एड्स, डेंगू, मलेरिया इससे तुलना करता है और बार बार हिंदू धर्म का या सनातन धर्म का अपमान करता है। ये अपने आप में दिखता है कि कहीं ना कहीं शह कांग्रेस और गांधी परिवार की इसके पीछे है।
Not me, not Mr. Stalin, not Mr. A. Raja. If you heard Mr. B.L. Santosh's statement day before, he said yes, there is an allergy.
With your plea, yes.
There is an allergy in the system, and just because the stomach is allergic, you don't cut off the head. Please ask him what allergy that is.
ये स्टालिन या ए राजा बी राजा ये लोग स्पोक्स पर्सन है सोची समझी रणनीति के तहत INDIA है। राहुल गांधी, उद्धव ठाकरे, लालू यादव, नीतीश कुमार, किन्हीं की जुबान खुल नहीं रही है। अगर नहीं माफी मांगा तो सनातन के ताप से तप जाएंगे और तप गए। है हिम्मत किसी में कि कोई मुस्लिम धर्म को गाली देकर देख ले? आज खटिया खड़ा हो जाता सड़कों पर, उनके दफ्तर नहीं बचते।
When Nupur Sharma erupted on a TV debate last year during a discussion on the Gyanvapi mosque issue, the amplification of a particular section of the debate directly resulted in 3 brutal murders. Last weekend, when Udhayanidhi Stalin called for the eradication of Sanatana Dharma like dengue or malaria mosquitoes, a big political backlash was triggered. But apart from one Ayodhya seer threatening violence, there have been no murders, let alone any attacks of any kind. When Nupur Sharma erupted on a TV show last year, nobody could quote what she said because anyone who did was immediately vulnerable to death threats and a rising and unchecked chorus of Sartan Se Juda. When Udhayanidhi Stalin spoke, you'll notice how we're able to freely quote what he said, the eradication of Sanatan Dharma like mosquitoes, like malaria and dengue. There's anger, but there's no threat to Udhayanidhi Stalin other than some idiots calling for him to be slapped and that Ayodhya seer calling for his beheading. Let's be clear, that Ayodhya seer should be booked and punished as per the law. When Nupur Sharma erupted on a TV show last year, massive riots broke out in different parts of the country, resulting in injuries and crores in damage to public and private property. When Udhayanidhi Stalin called for the eradication of Sanatana Dharma, there were a handful of protests in Delhi and Chennai, but nothing that got out of hand or turned even violent. In fact, Stalin Jr.'s own supporters protested in Chennai. When Nupur Sharma erupted on a TV show last year, the entire Islamic world was goaded into uniting to denounce India. The heat got so high that Nupur Sharma was sacked by a jittery BJP. When Udhayanidhi Stalin called for the eradication of Sanatana Dharma, there has been no major international backlash of any kind. When Nupur Sharma erupted on a TV show last year, the fallout meant she had to go into hiding. And now, over 15 months later, she still hasn't resumed life in public as a lawyer and a politician. She no doubt has protection, but she has only been able to show up occasionally and with great care at some select small functions. Udhayanidhi Stalin's home immediately received extra police bandobast in the wake of his comments. He is, after all, a minister and son of the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu. When Nupur Sharma erupted on a TV show last year, there was anger and endless condemnations of what she said. The vicious tenor in which she delivered the words made it hate speech. The noise of the fire she triggered has meant that nobody has thus far stepped forward to fact-check what Nupur Sharma said. On the other hand, Udhayanidhi Stalin has benefited from an entire ecosystem that has suddenly become a bunch of PhDs in sociology, history and political science, fact-checking any criticism of Stalin's hate speech, providing academic context to the hate speech of Udhayanidhi, applying nuance to the caste implications of Sanatana Dharma, and giving Stalin Jr. many pages of detailed explanations and escape routes to justify what was likely to millions of common citizens hateful and inflammatory speech. When Nupur Sharma erupted on a TV show last year, the Supreme Court took suo motu cognizance castigated her and said she was solely responsible for the violence that followed. There has been no suo motu cognizance, at least so far by the Supreme Court, of what Udhayanidhi Stalin has said. When Nupur Sharma erupted on a TV show last year, she was branded a poisonous villain with nothing better to do than divide people on religious lines on a sensitive issue that should most definitely have called for greater restraint. Udhayanidhi Stalin's words have been wholly defended by this very same section that came down on Nupur Sharma last year. This time, they've carefully set aside his hate speech to instead focus on the political genius of Stalin Jr.'s words and how they could actually benefit the India alliance in the 2024 battle. Two incidents of inflammatory, virulent speech. The fallout of both are plain for you to see. But like I've been saying all week, viewer, this is a country that's become your hate speech versus my hate speech. Thanks for listening. We're taking a very quick break here on 5 Live. On the other side, 100 hours of G20 coverage have begun. India Today's top anchors join me to give you a sense of how we're going to be bringing you record-breaking coverage of the G20 summit that kicks off with the arrival of world leaders starting tomorrow. Here's what we're going to bring you. That's next.
India aims big with the G20. The India Today group brings together unmissable super sharp global thinkers and strategists. Top foreign affairs guru.
It has to be a world with a greater sense of purpose, of vision, of values.
Leading expert on global political risk.
Xi Jinping is not surrounded by a bunch of reformers right now.
Leading global economists.
India's economy should be able to grow.
Ex-President of the United Nations Security Council.
This is an indication that relations between China and India still remain very troubled.
The Indian Imperative, debated like never before. Only on India Today.
कुछ ऐसे लोग हैं जो हमारे सनातन धर्म को चुनौती देते हैं कि नेस्तो नाबूद कर देंगे। जब तक एक एक भक्त इस पुण्य धरती पर जीवित है, तब तक कोई ऐसा नहीं जो धर्म को चुनौती दे, कोई ऐसा नहीं जो आस्था को चुनौती दे।
खड़गे आज राजस्थान आए हुए, इन्हीं खड़गे साहब ने कहा था कि मोदी जीता तो सनातन मजबूत हो जाएगा और इस सनातन को हमको हराना है। तेरे बाप वहां से जो है खिलजी आए थे, गौरी आए थे, गजनवी आए थे, गुलाम आए थे, शक आए थे, हूण आए थे, कुषाण आए थे, यवन आए थे, तुर्क आए थे, अरब आए थे, खलीफा आए थे, औरंगजेब जैसे लोग भी आए थे। उसके बाद में डच आए थे, फ्रांसीसी आए थे, पुर्तगाली आए थे, अंग्रेज आए थे। ये भगवाधारी लोग यहाँ बैठे हैं, इनके आशीर्वाद से ये सनातन मिटा नहीं, ये सनातन मिटा देंगे। ये सनातन को मिटाने के लिए चले। मैं आज अपनी बात समाप्त करने से पहले आप सबसे विश्वास चाहता हूं, यदि सनातन को जिंदा रखना चाहते हो कि नहीं चाहते हो, तो पूरी ताकत से बोलो भारत माता की।
Srimati Sonia Gandhi has written a letter regarding the calling of the session from 18th September to 22nd September, and she is trying to make politics regarding the calling of the session, actually which should not have been. And there is no question of any politics here. And in the temple of democracy, nobody should, especially the Congress party, which calls itself as the grand old party of the country and which has ruled the country for more than 60 years, they should not try to politicize this issue.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नाम श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी, चेयरपर्सन कांग्रेस पार्लियामेंट्री पार्टी ने एक पत्र लिखा है, जिसका अभी अभी जवाब संसदीय कार्य मंत्री श्री प्रहलाद जोशी जी ने उनको भेजा है। बहुत ही दुख की बात है कि श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी जी, कांग्रेस पार्टी और विपक्ष ने इसको भी राजनीतिक विवादों में डालने की कोशिश की है। माननीय सोनिया गांधी जी से आग्रह करता हूं कि इस सदन के सत्र में उनकी पार्टी भाग ले।
Heads of state and other world leaders attending the G20 summit will be served grand meals on bespoke silverware bearing intricately engraved motifs inspired from the cultural heritage of India. About 15,000 silverwares crafted by 200 artisans have been made on the occasion of the G20 summit. And on them will be served yum dishes, curated by a team of 120 chefs. Delegates will have a total of 500 dishes to choose from. Western, Indian, fusions, mini bites and star of the plate, millet. Delicacies are prepared to tantalize the taste buds. Other than a wide spread of international dishes, hotels will also serve dishes from Delhi like chaat, dahi bhalla and curries. The cuisines will highlight the diversity of India and its food culture. Millets will be the top focus in the appetizing menu. The special millet menu includes Kaju Pista roll, millet kheer, goat cheese ravioli and a lot more. The menu will also give a tour of the whole country, from Kashmir's saffron korma to Bihar's litti chokha. G20 guests will taste the flavors of India. Not only the hotels, even Delhi's famous street food is getting ready for the G20. Old Delhi has decked up in a new look, ready to dish out famous Delhi 6 culinary to G20 delegates. The local vendors too are being trained in foreign languages. From the 5-star to coffee shops to street vendors, the capital of the country is culinary ready for the 18th G20 summit.
Kia Sonet, undeniably wild.
India is locked and loaded for the big G20 summit that kicks off this weekend. I'm Shiv Aroor. I'm here with India Today's amazing panel of journalists and experts who are going to be fronting 100 hours of non-stop coverage of the G20 summit. We call it Namaste G20. Each one of us is going to be covering it non-stop for 100 hours, so you miss absolutely nothing in what is, by all means, by all accounts, one of the most important events ever to be hosted here in India. I'm joined now by News Director Rahul Kaval, who's going to be fronting our coverage, who's going to be taking us through all of the big events that happen, the big world leaders, all of the big interviews. You've been seeing his coverage. Siddharth Zarabi heads Business Today television. Remember that it was Business Today that got the first interview by the Indian Prime Minister in the run-up to G20. That's something that we're very, very proud of. Gaurav Sawant is going to be our man on the ground. I don't know if it's going to be for 100 hours, but pretty much all the time he's going to be right there. India Today, remember, the only channel with exclusive on-site access, and we'll be going live from there. Akshita has been doing the rounds of a very new Delhi that gets set to receive everyone as they begin to arrive starting Thursday morning, and she will tell us about the security. Polomi's been plugged into all of the politics surrounding the G20, and she'll be bringing us that. Thanks very much for watching. 100 hours of non-stop coverage begins. Rahul, starting it off with you, what's this week been like? We're completely ready with our coverage. You're going to be on it from the morning as well. You've been speaking to some of the biggest minds. How big is this, Rahul?
You know, we've been involved with bringing together the India Today conclave for so many years, Shiv. And the week before the conclave is always a week riddled with uncertainty about some headline speakers who may or may not come. I think the Indian government has had a conclave-wali feeling this week because with Xi Jinping pulling out, with Vladimir Putin pulling out before that, the Mexican president not coming, what was pitched initially as the grandest show of strength ever is still a very grand show of strength, but just one notch lower than the host would have wanted. It doesn't take anything away from all those who are coming, who are still coming at the highest levels of their governments, but it does take away that little bit extra. Having Xi and Biden do bilateral in Delhi would have been spectacular had it happened. That's not going to happen. The other big concern at this moment, building into the summit, is about whether there will be a tangible outcome, because all leaders summits, all such multilaterals are judged by what came off it.
Takeaways,
So outside of the photo opportunity, it'll be interesting to see what are the tangible deliverables. And I think Dr. Jaishankar, in that interview he did this morning, makes that clear. Don't assume that things aren't happening. The negotiators are still at it. It's now a race to the finish. Let's see what comes of it.
And all of those takeaways, the outcomes will, I guarantee you, be broken on India Today first. That's our guarantee here on our coverage. Siddharth, the Prime Minister choosing to give his first pre-G20 interview to Business Today is not something I'm going to underplay. It's a big article of pride that he chose to speak first to our group, first to Business Today. Many of the things he said really setting the agenda for the large-scale things that are going to be hoped to be achieved during the discussions in this summit. Just take us through some of those things and what you're looking forward to.
Well, you know, if I were to try and summarize the Prime Minister's extensive interview in one headline, I would say India's moment is upon us as far as the G20 is concerned, and that moment the Prime Minister is trying to push for is to tell the world that there is life beyond the United States and China in terms of a new economic fulcrum. And India is positing itself in the center of what is now being referred since many years as the global south. Now, this sounds like big words, but essentially the growing part of the world with a massive amount of consumption, not for now, for the next 30 years is going to be in this part of the world, Shiv. And that's where the Prime Minister is putting India right in the center of it all.
Now, the global gaze is going to be on India. There's no doubt about it. All the big world leaders that matter are going to be here. Like Rahul said, Putin, Xi Jinping and the Mexican head of state are not going to be coming, but that doesn't mean it isn't going to be big. Gaurav, you and I have been looking very closely. You're going to be on the ground. You're going to be, just a few feet away from all of these leaders and bringing us those live reports from tomorrow onwards when they start arriving. But Xi Jinping has been a big headline here in India because there was a great deal of suspense. You've been reporting that very closely. But as we've seen and as we're going to be reporting over the next couple of days, his absence at the G20 is not necessarily bad news. There is a context to why he's not coming, and that may be a big talking point at the G20.
In fact, because he may be the talking point at the G20, could well be the reason that he's choosing to stay away. In diplomacy, there's an old saying, if you're not on the table, you're on the menu. And that's exactly what China is. Now, you have the entire free world that's talking about rules-based order. And what's Xi Jinping doing? Xi Jinping or China, they are actually trying to break the rule-based order. And they're being expansionist. The world will not take that and not anymore. So there is a pushback against China and India. So there is this big conversation. China on the decline, India on the rise. So Shiv, this is India's moment. The next 100 hours will show how prepared is India to play that big role on the world stage. China will try to play a spoiler. China would not want India to win. And despite China, we will win, or we hope to win, or we'll try to win. That's the spirit of G20, taking the developing countries along. You don't want America to talk down to anyone, or you don't want China talking down to anyone. You want everyone on that table as equals. So that's India's effort.
I suspect that our 100 hours of coverage of the G20, a large part of it is going to be talking about the leader who is not there. But that's going to be very significant because we're going to give you context for why Xi Jinping not being there is not necessarily, as some sections are projecting, bad news for India. Akshita, speaking about preparations, Gaurav spoke about it. You've been out and about in Nai Delhi. We've heard lots of complaints about roads being blocked, etc. But for an event of this scale, preparations are going to be necessary. What did you see out there? Because the pictures you've been sending us, and which Gaurav is going to be seeing firsthand, are absolutely fabulous. The preparations are amazing.
Delhi, it's world-class, essentially, Shiv. Perfect place to really host the G20, looking at how it does right now. It's stunning, yes, and it's been a mammoth exercise that I think has lasted for the last many, many months. That's led to now and culminated in this beautiful Pragati Maidan that you see right now in Delhi. Yes, it's hard. I remember last evening, when I was, going around Pragati Maidan, the moment my car would stop, you would have at least 10 policemen rushing towards you, whistling away, saying, you're not allowed to stop here, keep going, because there's a lot of VVIP movement in the area. Late last night when I went, I saw a lot of people stopping and taking selfies. I was saying it's become the new India Gate because so many people were stopping, taking pictures. The Bharat Mandapam looks absolutely stunning. And I think I've been saying this to everyone. I've said it to all of you. Please go there, ensure you catch a glimpse of it. The lighting, the Natraja, all of it is just stunning. And I can't wait to see how it looked on the G20 day, because I think the day I visited, we still had about 3 days to go, and it was already so beautiful. So a lot of preparations done. I know some have said, why did we need to do this for a G20? Why don't we do it even before for Delhi? But let's hope that now that we've gotten it, it stays that way.
Oh, I mean, the number of moving parts in an event of this scale, are absolutely gigantic. So you can only imagine how many security personnel are out there, and we salute all of them. They're going to be doing a really difficult job over the next 100 hours once the world leaders start coming in. And it's a thankless job in large part because of the extensive number of things they need to look after in hotels, on the road, at the venue, and we'll be reporting on them as well. Polami, the whole idea of Vishwaguru, India's rise in the international order, has been something this government takes very seriously, loves to play up. It's an election year as well. So India on the international stage is going to be, a really big thing for everyone to look out for. The government knows that the world's eyes are on us. Biden is here, Sunak is going to be here, the rest of them are arriving as well. What's the mood in the government right now?
Well, today the Prime Minister, in fact, briefed his Council of Ministers. So you can see how seriously the government is taking this event, you know, a Council of Ministers meeting, the Prime Minister himself briefing them, giving them very specific instructions to the point that they were all made to download the G20 India app immediately on their phones in that meeting, where the Foreign Secretary told them about the app so that, you know, you have all the information handy that you need to know about the G20. The Prime Minister saying over there, please understand the courtesies and the protocols that are to be followed when you go to receive world leaders at the airport. Please research. If you've been assigned that job, then you must research about the country that you're going to receive the head of state from. So learn everything about them, their geography, their history, their food habits, everything. You should be able to make conversation with them.